You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on stamps to add incredible designs to your leather projects. Using only a swivel knife and a bevel stamp, you can add any image you want to your cosplay accessories. I made this acorn design using only these two tools, and I'm going to show you how. Of course, I also used a mallet, which is a requirement for pretty much anything you want to do with leather. First, dampen the leather with a sponge and lay your chosen design on top of the leather. Trace over all of the lines to transfer. I like to use a dull pencil. Dull so it doesn't pierce through the paper, and a pencil so it's easier to keep track of which lines you traced. In spite of that, I still forgot to add texture to the acorn caps. Oops. Next, you're going to grab your swivel knife and trace all of the outlines. This is how you hold a swivel knife. Carve in long, sweeping strokes and keep it straight up and down. It definitely takes practice, so work on some scrap first. I usually carve all the major outlines first and add the finer details later on. Try not to let your lines intersect with one another, and keep your depth as consistent as you can. Carving tight curves is definitely the trickiest, and if you have to, break your lines up into smaller sections. Next, you're going to use your bevel stamp along the outside of all of your lines. Use your mallet to hammer the stamp into the leather. Try to keep your strikes consistent, slowly working your way along the line. Do not be afraid to go back over your lines again to smooth them out. Sometimes I use the tool without the mallet to do a final smoothing. Taking this extra time to tidy your lines will really level up the quality of your image. Going around the outside of tight curves will require a lot of taps to get that smooth, rounded edge. Just hammer back and forth around that curve a few times until it's smooth. For tiny details like the stem, use short little cuts and hammer carefully around your details until you get the shape you want. Getting these interior curves with a flat tool can be tricky. Go around and around to smooth everything out, and if you need to, tilt your tool to get into those tight corners. I also use the tool on its own without the mallet to really carve into those corners and smooth everything out. When it comes to adding textures and details, I often go beyond what the pattern indicates. Varying how hard you press really adds to the texture and adds so much more interest to your design. Use lines of different depths, lengths, and angles to create a variety of textures. Using this method, you can add literally any image or pattern to your cosplay accessories. The sky is the limit, so let me know what you come up with. And follow along for more leather projects, tips, tricks, and shenanigans.